Welcome into another episode of Dipo's Den. I am your host, Evan DiPasquale. It's been a minute since had I've done a podcast. Last time we did one, it was with not Bills. Oh my goodness, Sabres play-by-play man Dan Dunleavy. If you ever get a chance to listen to it, you can find that. Just search up the title Dipo's Den, DIPO''S Den, and you can find it'll be right there. It was a great interview. Learned a lot from him, not only as a broadcaster, but as him being the voice of the Sabres and what he's thinking about this current Sabres team. So it was a really interesting interview. If you get the chance to listen to it, I highly suggest taking a listen to it. And there was some great stuff in here. But we're not here to talk about the Sabres. We're here to talk about the Bills. A lot has happened since. Well, first off, now we've got the new stadium, like groundbreaking. It is awesome. When you see what we're expected to get in 2026 with the new stadium, it is absolutely, this is like super futuristic, and the city of Buffalo has really needed this. Like, honestly, when you look at it, this this stadium is old. It's been in it's been up since 1973. It's going to be coming up on 50 years this season. It has been that long since the Bills have played in this stadium. And so to finally be able to now break ground on the new stadium is awesome. I can't wait for it. We got to wait a few years, 3 years. 2026 is when it's expected to start, or like expected to be ready. Now the good thing is that if it's taking some time, then you don't have to we're not the Bills will still have a home. They're not going to blow up uh, Highmark Stadium while this is going on. So this is something that I'm really excited about. It's going to be really cool, and I think that it is super awesome because I feel like when you go to think about the fan experience at a Bills game, you normally think about the tailgating experience. You don't think about the stadium experience, and I think that that's what this new stadium is going to bring. It's going to bring in a new feeling of the stadium is going to be awesome, and I think that that's what most people should be looking forward to when the new stadium is up and ready, and it will be called Highmark Stadium. I should start calling it the new Highmark Stadium, I guess. Super awesome. I thought Terry Pagula was a great talking about all the people of the top shooting, kind of giving his thoughts to those people, and also giving his thoughts to his wife Kim Pagula, who is still recovering from a heart attack. If you ever want to watch what happened, or like want to know more about what happened to Kim Pagula, their daughter Jessica Pagula, the star tennis player, she wrote something about it in the Players Tribune. So, and it kind of goes into in-depth detail on what exactly happened on that night, and it's tragic, but honestly, it's a really good story, a really good listen to, a good read. I highly expect that you should take it, read through it, because it's very powerful. It really is. But anyways, and also Commissioner Roger Goodell being on there and saying that he's been at like so many of these groundbreaking events, and the the one for the Bills is probably the one that he's like most glad about or happy about, something like that. People don't know he is from Jamestown. He's a Jamestown native, so he probably grew up a Bills fan when before he started going into the NFL. And I'm sure that if the Bills were in the Super Bowl, I'm sure, or at inside, I'm sure he's a big Bills fan, and that's pretty awesome to know that the whole commissioner of the NFL is like, he's been to so many of these groundbreaking ceremonies. This is the one that he's most excited about. Now, another thing that happened over the week for the Bills was the signing of Leonard Floyd. 1 year deal. I think it said it was worth around $9 million. I want to say. I don't fact check me on that. He was outstanding with when he was on the Rams. He was so good. The deal is it is a 1-year deal. I can't remember what the money was. I believe it was around $7 to $9 million. He totaled in his 3 seasons with the LA Rams. He had, I believe, 10 sacks, then 9.5, then 9. So he has produced numbers, and I think that that's the thing that I look at it is that it now doesn't rush Von Miller back. Von Miller was saying at some charity event, he was saying, I think that I could be ready by week 1, and off a torn ACL or a partial tear. It was more so repaired rather than it was torn. It wasn't like a complete tear to where he was what Tre'Davious White had, where he was out for the whole season. This one is just a it was just a repair. So he expects to be back no later than week 6. What this Leonard Floyd signing does is that it allows him to be able to, you know, not have to get back in the lineup as quickly as possible. And I think that that's super big for the Bills is to make sure that they're not rushing their star pass rusher that they're paying a lot of money for. And I think that this defense is going to be scary. He ranked over the last 3 years, he ranked 10th in sacks. So that's a pretty good number, like a good place to be when there have been so many great players that have like TJ Watt, Miles Garrett, Khalil Mack, etc. The Bosa brothers. He's in some elite company, and for him to say he took less money to come to Buffalo is really awesome. To be able to just not only have to work, I think being reunited with Von Miller was huge, even though they only played for like half a season. They still won a Super Bowl together. And then also having, Taylor Rapp and um, David Andrews, I believe, is who else is also on, um, who was on the Rams team that is now going to be on the Bills. Yeah, David Edwards, excuse me, not David Andrews, David Edwards. And I think that this is something that's going to be really important for the Bills as it gets down to closer to, we to the season, and especially because now with the schedule, if you missed my last episode, a couple episodes ago, I did pick the Bills, and I believe I picked them to go 14-3, which is something that they've never eclipsed 14 wins. The highest they've ever had is 13. That was in 90, 91, 2020, and 2022. They've had 13 wins. So I think that even though they're going to be playing a tougher schedule, I still think that this is still a really good team. Now, if people think they're going to fall off a cliff, you're sadly mistaken. This team is going to be good. They've got their quarterback back, and OTAs are starting. Stephon Diggs hasn't shown up. If anybody's concerned about that, I wouldn't be. This is optional. Now, next week, if he's not there, then I might be a little bit concerned because this is mandatory minicamp. I expect him to be there. I think that he'll be back at practice in Buffalo. I don't know when he'll be back, and I think, you know, what people are so focused in on when it comes to Diggs is that he didn't speak with the media after the loss against Cincinnati in the playoffs. That's really what it comes down to. It comes down to he was so upset that he actually literally left before anybody else and did not speak with the media. And he didn't speak on locker room cleanup. Excuse me. But I think that this team is still one of the top 3 teams in the NFL. And I feel like a lot of people in the national media are kind of sleeping on them when it comes to their the Jets or the Dolphins are going to be good. Yeah, they're going to be good, but I still think the Bills are a better team. even with the Jets having Aaron Rodgers, and saying, "Oh, they beat the Bills with Zach Wilson at quarterback." Yeah, but I'm still believing that the Bills are a better team than the New York Jets, even with Aaron Rodgers. I guarantee you, I honestly believe that the Bills will win on Monday Night Football, and I believe that people are going to question what happened with the Jets and stuff like that. And I'm going to say nothing happened with the Jets. It's just that the Bills are a better team. That's what it really comes down to, that the Bills are a better team. And also, the Bills signed Ed Oliver. Now, I'll be totally honest. I was kind of like, okay. I wasn't like super like, yes, yes, we got him back. He has not really produced to the point where I felt like that he deserved to get the contract that he did. But I also think that the Bills were banking on potential rather than banking on what he has done. I think that if he outperforms his contract, like say he gets 10 sacks this season, that's going to be a bargain. So right now, like the first two are like he's on a 4-year deal. It's 45 million guaranteed, 68 million. Now they can get out the last 2 years of the contract if they need to. But I think another reason why they did this was because they did not have any it was not they did not have anybody solidified on the defensive line. Like on defense at defensive tackle. And that's what it really comes down to, is that it was you don't have anybody signed after 2024. So there are so many players that are on 1-year deals. So when now you've got Ed Oliver, who is going to be your defensive tackle for the perceivably the next 4 years. And I think that he is still good. I mean, he was the ninth overall pick. I think people probably are not happy that he got the money because of where he was drafted. A lot of people probably expected more, and I can understand that. I probably expected more. There were only a couple games that I remember where he was outstanding, and you know what? I still think that at Oliver, it was a solid signing. I won't say it was a good signing. It was a solid signing. It's more of like a wait and see type of deal. That's what's really going to happen. We're going to see how it turns out, and then we'll move into, you know, him being like he could be possibly one of the, I don't know if he'll ever be like a top, like an Aaron Donald type, because that's what he was um that's what he was like projected as, like when they come out with ideas of what your player is going to be like. Aaron Donald was the player he was expected to be. Now, I don't think anybody's going to be Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is literally a monster and is a once in a generational type player. Now, do I think Ed Oliver could be like probably a 10 sack per game? I think that could be like 10 sacks could be somewhere where I could see him going, but we haven't seen it yet. But he also has incentives of, if he gets 8 sacks this season, he'll get like a bonus in his contract. If he doesn't, then no bonus. So I think that when you put incentives like that in a contract, I think that kind of makes you that makes the player want to work more. That makes the player want to be like, "Oh, I got this really nice payday. You know how I'm going to try and get more money? By playing even better, by outperforming my contract." Is basically that's what he said. I want to outperform my contract, and he might. He might. We got to see it. That's like the thing. You got to see it, and I think with Ed with um with Von Miller being out, Ed Oliver's game kind of deteriorated. I felt like the entire defensive line was not as good once Von Miller left with his injury. But now you have Leonard Floyd, who is going to be like solidify your one of the edges, and then Von Miller comes back, and now you can just honestly, if you want to, you can rotate both Miller and Floyd or have them both on the field at the same time. I have no idea how they're going to run this. I think that they're going to be a lot more aggressive. That's what Sean McDermott has really preached about, was that he was going to be a lot more aggressive when it comes to his defense. And, that's kind of what was expected when Ron Rivera asked, what's Sean McDermott's play calling like? And he said, aggressive. And I think that that's what's going to happen. This defense is going to be more aggressive than it has been since Leslie Frazier was the defensive coordinator. And I still think that even with McDermott calling plays, I still think that this defense is going to be top notch. Now, this probably takes him out of the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I would love him on the Bills. But for me, when I look at it, DeAndre Hopkins wants a lot of money, and money that the Bills probably don't have. I don't know if he wants to be a guy that wants to get paid because he's still kind of in that window, or if he wants to win a championship and, go for a little bit cheaper. Now, that is what I see for the Bills. If Hopkins wants to just go and win a Super Bowl, I think that that's what can happen. But I don't think that it is. I think his two spots, he's going to reunite with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, or he's going to go back to Houston and I'm up and play with, I think, CJ Stroud. Maybe Houston, but my idea is thinking he's going to go back to Cleveland, or not go. He's going to reunite with Deshaun Watson, because when he was with Deshaun Watson, that's probably when he had his career years. And Deshaun Watson, he had the most receiving yards when Deshaun Watson was his quarterback. So I highly expect that to happen. And you know what? We'll see. Honestly, that's what I think that. Honestly, Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, I think that that's where he's going to go. He's going to go to Cleveland, and I know a lot of you Bills fans, you want DeAndre Hopkins in Buffalo. I do too, but I just don't think that with how he feels, I think he wants to still get paid. So for me, and in all honesty, DeAndre Hopkins would have been like, oh, cool. Sort of like I think about this in a sense of, there was also rumors of Connor Hellebuck possibly being traded to the Sabres. You go from possibly a playoff contender to a serious playoff contender, and heck, maybe even a cup contender if the Sabres were able to trade for Connor Hellebuck. And the other thing, so this is how I look at it with that sense. You were down here and now you went up here with the Sabres and Hellebuck. But with DeAndre Hopkins, you're already up here. You're already really high. You're already high up there. And that might bring you a little bit higher. It's not going to shoot you up to the mountaintop. I'm not trying to say DeAndre Hopkins is a bad player. The Bills already have a great team. This would just make their great team greater. That's how I look at it. They're Super Bowl. Oh, sweet. We're still a Super Bowl contender is basically what it is. It hasn't changed any idea of what's going to happen. Like, it hasn't made the Bills even better. I mean, it has, but it hasn't made them like to the point where like, oh, they're the Super Bowl favorites like they were last year. Last year, they were clearly the Super Bowl favorites, and I think that it might have taken a toll on them. Who knows? But as you see in the title of this episode of Dipo's Den, and the last thing, Joshy boy, Josh Allen is going to be on the cover of Madden NFL 24. This is the first time that he is a Buffalo Bill has graced the cover of Madden, and it's the first time that fans are actually on the cover. So there's two versions. There's one of him kind of like being all serious and having his hands kind of where my hands are, and then having his head down all serious like, and then there's the one where he like jumps into the crowd, and I think that that's super cool. It kind of has a tie-in with Bill's Mafia because they're so close to the players. That's how I look at it, is that they're so close to the players that the fans are, that I think Josh wanted to include the fans. Now, do I think that that's from a real picture? Probably not. But I still like the idea that he's incorporating Bill's Mafia in this. And I think he was supposed to be on the cover of Madden 23, but I don't think they didn't give him the cover because of what happened with the passing of John Madden, and they wanted to put him on the cover, which totally makes sense. So yeah, like Josh Allen, I'm gonna buy it just to have it. I'm not gonna play it. I think it's awesome, and I hopefully, if I ever get to meet the guy one day, I would love for him to sign it. You know, they always say like, oh, he only signs for kids. I'm not one of those people that I have tons of autographs and memorabilia in my room, and I do not plan on selling them. Only if I ever got to the point where I really needed to, I would, but I don't want to. So hopefully one day, if I ever get the opportunity to meet Josh Allen in person, then I would totally have him sign the cover of Madden 24. So that's so cool because Buffalo has always been seen as this small market, and he kind of like puts the Bills on the market. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Dipo's Den. I will make sure that I am more active on this show. I'll make sure to post and update what I've got from you, anything that's going on in the sports world. Um, I'm do a NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Final. What my thoughts are, maybe sometime later this week. You've been listening to Dipo's Den. I'm your host, Evan DePasquale. You can follow me on Twitter at EvanDepo2. Hope you have a great day, everybody, and stay safe for all you Buffalo fans and people that are dealing with the smoke right now, hitting the country. It has been bad. So that's going to do it for this episode of Dipo's Den, and we'll see you next time.